Regulation in organisms. Regulation in organisms refers to the processes by which living organisms maintain a stable internal environment, despite changes in their external environment. This is achieved through various physiological and biochemical mechanisms that help to maintain parameters such as temperature, pH, and nutrient levels within certain limits that are favorable for the organism's survival and growth. Examples of regulatory mechanisms include homeostasis, negative feedback loops, and hormonal regulation. Importance of regulation. Regulation is crucial for the survival and normal functioning of living organisms. Here are some reasons why regulation is important. 1. Homeostasis. Regulation maintains a stable internal environment for organisms, allowing them to function normally despite changes in their external environment. This is known as homeostasis, which is necessary for an organism to stay alive and healthy. 2. Organismal growth and development. Regulation plays an important role in the growth and development of organisms. Proper regulation of processes such as cell division, differentiation, and gene expression ensures that an organism develops and grows appropriately. 3. Response to stimuli. Regulation enables organisms to respond appropriately to different stimuli, such as changes in temperature, nutrient availability, and the presence of pathogens. This helps organisms to maintain their internal environment and avoid harm. 4. Reproduction. Regulation is essential for successful reproduction. Hormonal regulation and other mechanisms ensure that reproductive processes occur at the right time and in the right way, resulting in successful reproduction. Overall, regulation is critical for the normal functioning and survival of living organisms. Internal environment. The internal environment of an organism refers to the conditions and parameters within the organism's body, including the cellular and extracellular fluids, tissues, organs, and organ systems. Examples of internal parameters that are regulated include temperature, pH, electrolyte concentrations, nutrient concentrations, and waste concentrations. These parameters must be maintained within a narrow range for an organism to survive and function optimally. The regulation of the internal environment is crucial for many physiological processes, including metabolism, growth and development, and cellular function. External environment. The external environment of an organism refers to the conditions and factors that exist outside the organism's body. Examples of external environmental factors include temperature, humidity, light, air pressure, altitude, and the presence of other organisms, including predators, prey, parasites, and competitors. The external environment can have a significant impact on the behavior, physiology, and survival of organisms. For example, some organisms may have adaptations that allow them to survive in extreme temperatures or at high altitudes, while others may have defense mechanisms to protect against predators or parasites. Overall, the external environment interacts with an organism's internal environment to influence its behavior, development, and survival. Formation of tissue fluid. Tissue fluid is formed by the process of filtration, which involves the movement of water and solutes from the blood capillaries into the surrounding tissues. The blood capillaries are surrounded by a thin layer of endothelial cells, which allow the exchange of nutrients, gases, and other substances between the blood and tissues. Some of the plasma, liquid part of blood, is filtered out of the capillaries through small pores in their walls, driven by the hydrostatic pressure generated by the heart. This filtered fluid, together with any solutes that move with it, forms the tissue fluid. It is essentially a diluted version of the blood plasma, but it contains fewer proteins and blood cells. As the tissue fluid bathes the cells of tissues, they are able to exchange gases, nutrients, and waste products with it. The excess tissue fluid is then reabsorbed into the capillaries at the venous end of the capillary network, where the hydrostatic pressure is lower and the osmotic pressure is higher. This reabsorption is facilitated by mechanisms such as lymphatic vessels and the pumping action of skeletal muscles. Overall, the formation of tissue fluid and its exchange with the blood are essential processes for maintaining the health and function of tissues in the body. Homeostatic regulatory mechanism. Homeostatic regulatory mechanisms are physiological processes that help to maintain a state of internal balance or stability, homeostasis, in the body. These mechanisms constantly monitor various parameters within the body, such as temperature, blood pressure, pH, concentrations of various ions or molecules, and adjust them accordingly. Homeostatic regulatory mechanisms can be broadly classified into two types: negative feedback loops and positive feedback loops. Negative feedback loops work to counteract any changes in the body that deviate from the desired set point. For example, when body temperature rises, negative feedback mechanisms are activated to induce sweating and vasodilation, which help to cool down the body and bring the temperature back to the normal range. Positive feedback loops, on the other hand, amplify or reinforce the changes that occur in the body, rather than counteracting them. However, they are typically rare, since their consequence is a departure from homeostasis. An example of a positive feedback loop is the release of oxytocin, that stimulates uterine muscle contraction to aid with childbirth. The contractions lead to more oxytocin release and increased contractions, potentially leading to delivery. Overall, homeostatic regulatory mechanisms are vital for maintaining the stability of the internal environment of the body, and any disruption to these mechanisms may lead to various diseases and disorders. Types of regulation. 1. Temperature regulation in animals. Temperature regulation in animals involves the control of body temperature within a narrow range to maintain optimal metabolic function. There are two main types of temperature regulation in animals. 1. Endothermy, the ability of some animals to maintain a constant internal body temperature. Example, mammals and birds maintain their body temperature by generating heat through their metabolism, such as shivering or increasing heart rate, and releasing excess heat through sweating or panting. 2. Ectothermy, the inability of some animals to regulate their body temperature internally, and they adjust their body temperature by moving into different environments. Example, reptiles and amphibians use external sources of heat, such as basking in the sun or seeking shade to regulate their body temperature. Both endothermic and ectothermic animals use behavioral, physiological, and anatomical adaptations to maintain their body temperature within a narrow range, and any deviations may result in stress or even death. Illustration of thermoregulation in mammals. Thermoregulation in mammals refers to the process by which their internal body temperature is maintained within a narrow range, typically around 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's an illustration of thermoregulation in mammals. 1. Heat production. Mammals produce heat through metabolic processes such as cellular respiration, digestion, and muscle movement. Shivering is an example of a physiological response that generates heat. 2. Heat loss. To regulate their body temperature, mammals lose heat through various means, such as panting, sweating, and vasodilation, widening of blood vessels. This helps to dissipate excess heat and lower the body temperature. 3. Thermoregulation center. The hypothalamus, located in the brain, serves as the primary thermoregulation center in mammals. It monitors the body temperature and triggers various responses to maintain homeostasis. 4. Adapting to the environment. Mammals also adjust their behavior to adapt to changes in their environment. For example, they may seek shade or water to cool down, or huddle together or grow fur to retain heat in colder temperatures. 5. Adaptive thermogenesis. In a response to cold temperatures, mammals can activate heat-generating mechanisms to maintain their internal temperature. This process, known as adaptive thermogenesis, can involve the activation of brown adipose tissue which produces heat by burning stored fats. Overall, mammalian thermoregulation involves complex physiological and behavioral processes that work together to maintain optimal body temperature, critical to maintain the body's essential metabolic processes. Advantages of homeothermy. Homeothermy, also known as endothermy, is the ability of certain animals to maintain a stable and constant body temperature. Some advantages of homeothermy are: 1. Increased activity. Endothermic animals can maintain higher levels of activity for longer periods of time, as their internal metabolism can provide more energy. This allows them to be more efficient hunters and gatherers, and to travel long distances to find food, water, or mates. 2. Thermal independence. Endothermic animals can maintain their body temperature independently of their surrounding environment, which allows them to inhabit a wide range of habitats and adapt to changing conditions. They are able to survive in extreme temperatures, whether hot or cold, whereas ectothermic animals are more restricted. 3. Better immune response. Endothermic animals tend to have a more robust immune system, and can resist infections better than ectothermic animals. This is because their internal environment is stable, with fewer fluctuations in temperature or pH, which can negatively impact the immune response. 4. Faster reproduction. Some endothermic animals, such as mammals, have relatively short gestation periods and produce fewer offspring per litter but tend to have a higher survival rate compared to ectothermic animals. This allows them to reproduce more frequently and maintain larger populations. 5. Active in cold temperatures. Endothermic animals are capable of staying active even in cold environments, in contrast to ectothermic organisms who become sluggish in colder temperatures. Overall, homeothermy provides significant advantages to animals that possess it, allowing them to efficiently adapt to a wider range of environments and conditions, maintain higher levels of activity and immune response, and reproduce more frequently with higher success rates. Disadvantages of homeothermy. While homeothermy provides many advantages to certain animals, it also comes with a few disadvantages. Some of these disadvantages include 1. High energy requirements. Endothermic animals require a significant amount of energy to maintain their body temperature. This means they need to consume more food and water than ectothermic animals, which can limit their availability in some environments. 2. Vulnerable to overheating. Endothermic animals are vulnerable to overheating, especially in hot environments or during periods of high activity. This can lead to dehydration, exhaustion, and even death. 3. Susceptible to hypothermia. Endothermic animals are also susceptible to hypothermia, especially in cold environments. This can reduce their activity levels and make them more vulnerable to predators. 4. Slow growth and development. Endothermic animals tend to have slow growth and development rates, as a significant amount of energy goes toward maintaining the body temperature. This can limit their survival and reproductive success in some environments. 5. High metabolic waste. The high metabolic rate of endothermic animals can result in the generation of significant amounts of metabolic waste, such as carbon dioxide and urea. This can put a strain on the animal's excretory system and may have negative impacts on the environment. Overall, the disadvantages of homeothermy are relatively minor compared to the significant advantages it provides. However, they do pose certain limits and challenges that endothermic animals need to overcome to survive and thrive. Advantages of poikilothermy. Poikilothermic animals are organisms that do not have a constant body temperature and instead allow their internal temperature to vary with their surroundings. Some advantages of poikilothermy are 1. Low energy requirements. Poikilothermic animals require much less energy to maintain their body temperature than endothermic animals. This can allow them to survive on lower quantities of food and water and makes them more energy efficient. 2. Less vulnerable to overheating. Poikilothermic animals are less vulnerable to overheating, as they can regulate their body temperature by moving into cooler areas or resting in the shade. This reduces their risk of dehydration and exhaustion in hot environments. 3. More versatile and different habitats. Poikilothermic animals can adapt to a wider range of environments and habitats than endothermic animals, including environments with very high or very low temperatures. 4. Faster growth and development. Poikilothermic animals tend to have faster growth and development rates, as they do not need to invest as much energy into maintaining their body temperature. 5. Lower metabolic waste. Poikilothermic animals typically produce less metabolic waste than endothermic animals, which can reduce the environmental impact of their waste products. Overall, poikilothermy provides certain advantages that allow animals to survive and thrive in diverse environments. It allows them to save energy, adapt to different environmental conditions, and grow and develop more quickly than endothermic animals. Hibernation. Hibernation is a form of dormancy that allows animals to conserve energy during times when food is scarce or environmental conditions are harsh. During hibernation, animals reduce their metabolic rate, heart rate, and body temperature to very low levels, which enables them to use less energy and survive for extended periods without food. Some common animals that hibernate include bears, bats, rodents, and some species of reptiles and amphibians. These animals prepare for hibernation by increasing their food intake and storing excess fat and energy. Once they enter hibernation, they may sleep for several weeks or months, only waking up briefly to drink water or shift positions. Hibernation provides several advantages to animals. By reducing their metabolic rate and body temperature, hibernating animals are able to conserve energy and survive for longer periods without food or water. This allows them to survive in environments where food and resources are scarce or seasonal. Additionally, hibernation can protect animals from extreme weather conditions or other environmental stressors. However, hibernation also has some risks and limitations. Hibernating animals may be vulnerable to predation, disease, or environmental disturbances during their dormant state. Additionally, the prolonged lack of activity and reduced muscle tone during hibernation can cause some animals to lose a significant amount of muscle mass, strength, and coordination. Despite these limitations, hibernation remains an important survival strategy for many species in challenging environments. Estivation. Estivation is a form of dormancy similar to hibernation, but it occurs during hot and dry periods instead of cold periods. During estivation, animals escape the harsh conditions of hot and dry weather by slowing down their metabolism, reducing their activity, and sheltering in cool, moist microhabitats. Estivation is often used by animals living in hot and arid regions, such as deserts, where temperatures can become dangerously hot and water sources are scarce. Some animals use estivation to survive long periods of drought, while others use it to avoid heat stress during the hottest parts of the day. Examples of animals that use estivation include some species of snails, frogs, tortoises, and lizards. These animals typically find shelter in burrows or other underground habitats, where they can conserve moisture and escape the heat. Estivation provides several benefits to animals. By reducing their activity and metabolism, estivating animals are able to conserve energy and avoid dehydration during periods of extreme heat and dryness. This allows them to survive in environments where other animals may suffer heat exhaustion or dehydration. Additionally, estivation may protect animals from predators or other environmental stressors during times of low resource availability. However, estivation also has some risks and limitations. Extended periods of inactivity can cause loss of muscle mass, bone density, and coordination, similar to hibernation. Therefore, animals must be able to tolerate these effects on their physiology and behavior to successfully use estivation as a survival strategy. Heat loss and heat gain in mammals. Mammals have several mechanisms for both heat loss and heat gain to regulate their body temperature and maintain homeostasis. Heat loss mechanisms. 1. Conduction, direct transfer of heat from the body to a colder surface that it is in contact with, like lying down on a cooler surface. 2. Convection, transfer of heat through the movement of air or water across the body's surface, like wind blowing over the skin. 3. Radiation, losing heat to the surrounding environment through the exchange of thermal radiation, as in heat radiating off the skin into the air. 4. Evaporation, loss of heat through sweating or panting, where liquid water is turned into water vapor that carries off heat energy. Heat gain mechanisms. 1. Conduction, absorbing heat energy through direct contact with a warmer object, like lying down on a warm surface. 2. Convection, absorbing heat through the movement of air or water across the body's surface, like sitting in front of a fire. 3. Radiation, absorbing heat energy from warmer objects in the environment, like sitting in the sun. 4. Metabolism, generating heat from the breakdown of food in the body cells. Mammals use these mechanisms in combination to regulate their body temperature. For example, if a mammal is too cold, it might seek out a warm surface to lie on conduction, or move to a warmer location convection and radiation, to gain heat. On the other hand, if a mammal is too hot, it might sweat or pant evaporation to cool down, or seek out a cooler surface conduction or location convection and radiation, to lose heat. Overall, the balance of heat gain and heat loss mechanisms in mammals helps to maintain a stable internal temperature essential for optimal functioning. Physiological means of body temperature regulation. The physiological means of body temperature regulation involve the actions of the body's internal regulatory systems to maintain a constant core temperature in response to changes in the external environment. The main mechanisms of physiological temperature regulation include: 1. Thermoregulatory center in the brain. The hypothalamus in the brain acts as the body's primary thermostat, sensing changes in body temperature and initiating appropriate responses to maintain homeostasis. 2. Vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Blood vessels in the skin can constrict or dilate in response to temperature changes, adjusting blood flow to regulate the transfer of heat between the body and environment. 3. Sweating. The body uses sweating to cool down by releasing heat from the skin through the process of evaporation. 4. Shivering. In cold conditions, shivering helps to generate heat by causing rapid muscle contractions, increasing metabolism and body heat production. 5. Hormonal responses. Hormones like thyroid hormone and adrenaline can affect metabolism and heat production. Thyroid hormone, for example, increases the rate of metabolism, while adrenaline mobilizes energy stores to increase heat production. These mechanisms work together to maintain the optimal internal body temperature necessary for normal physiological functions. Any disruption in the body's temperature regulation mechanisms can lead to various dysfunctions, such as fever, hypothermia, and heat stroke. Response to heat by homoeotherms. Homoeothermic animals, such as mammals and birds, maintain a relatively constant internal body temperature, regardless of changes in the external environment. In response to heat, these animals have several physiological and behavioral adaptations that help to regulate their body temperature and prevent overheating. Some of these responses include: 1. Vasodilation, the blood vessels in the skin dilate, or widen, allowing more blood to flow near the surface of the skin, which facilitates the transfer of heat from the body to the environment. 2. Sweating or panting, homoeothermic animals sweat or pant to cool down, releasing heat through evaporation. In some animals, such as dogs, panting is the primary method of cooling. 3. Seeking shade and shelter, homoeothermic animals may seek shade or shelter during the hottest parts of the day to avoid direct sunlight and reduce heat absorption. 4. Behavioral changes, homoeotherms may also alter their behavior in response to heat by reducing their level of activity, becoming more nocturnal, or moving to higher elevations where the temperature is cooler. 5. Altering metabolic rate, in extreme cases, homoeothermic animals may also reduce their metabolic rate, which can help to reduce internal body temperature and conserve energy. These responses help to maintain the body temperature within a narrow range of homeostasis, which is crucial for the survival and normal function of homoeothermic animals. Response to cold by homoeotherms. Homoeothermic animals, such as mammals and birds, maintain a relatively constant internal body temperature, regardless of changes in the external environment. In response to cold, these animals have several physiological and behavioral adaptations that help to regulate their body temperature and prevent hypothermia. Some of these responses include 1. Vasoconstriction, the blood vessels in the skin constrict, or narrow, reducing blood flow to the skin and extremities, which helps to conserve heat within the body's core. 2. Shivering, homoeothermic animals may shiver to generate heat through muscle contractions, which helps to increase body temperature. 3. Insulation, many homoeothermic animals have thick fur or feathers, which provide insulation against the cold and reduce heat loss. 4. Huddling together, in some animals, such as penguins, huddling together in large groups can help to reduce heat loss and conserve body heat. 5. Increased metabolic rate, homoeothermic animals may also increase their metabolic rate, which can help to generate heat and maintain body temperature in cold conditions. 6. Altering behavior, homoeothermic animals may alter their behavior in response to the cold by seeking shelter or moving to warmer areas. These responses help to maintain the body temperature within a narrow range of homeostasis, which is crucial for the survival and normal function of homoeothermic animals. Revision exercise. 1. Define the following terms. A. Ultrafiltration. B. Regulation. A. Ultrafiltration, a process of filtration where a fluid or solution is forced through a membrane by applying pressure, allowing only small particles or solutes to pass through. B. Regulation, the process of adjusting or controlling a system or phenomenon to maintain a stable or desired state or condition. In biology, refers to the processes by which organisms maintain homeostasis or balance in response to changes in their internal or external environments. 2. State the importance of regulation in biology. The importance of regulation in biology cannot be overstated, as it is essential for the survival and functioning of all living organisms. Regulation helps organisms maintain homeostasis or balance in response to changes in their internal and external environments. It allows organisms to maintain proper function of their organs and systems, such as maintaining stable body temperature, pH, and water balance. Additionally, regulation ensures that the appropriate levels of energy, nutrients, and waste products are maintained within cells and tissues. Without regulation, the functioning of all biological systems would be disrupted, leading to disease and ultimately death. Therefore, regulation is crucial for the survival and success of all living organisms. 3. Distinguish between internal and external environment in biology. In biology, the environment refers to the surroundings or conditions in which an organism lives and interacts. The environment can be broadly categorized into two types. 1. Internal environment refers to the environment within an organism's body. It includes the conditions inside an organism, such as the concentration of various substances such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and pH, as well as temperature and hydration. The internal environment is tightly regulated by various mechanisms to maintain homeostasis or internal balance. 2. External environment refers to the environment outside the organism's body. It includes the conditions or factors that affect the organism from outside, such as temperature, light, precipitation, soil nutrients, and biotic factors such as predator-prey relationships and competition. External environmental factors can have a significant impact on the survival, adaptation, and evolution of organisms. In summary, the internal environment refers to the environment within an organism's body, while the external environment refers to the environment outside the organism's body. Both are crucial for the survival and functioning of organisms, and regulation is necessary to maintain the appropriate balance between the internal and external environments. 4. State 3 main factors the human body regulates. The human body is a complex system that is constantly working to maintain homeostasis, or a stable internal environment. Some of the main factors that the human body regulates are: 1. Temperature. The body must maintain a core temperature within a narrow range in order to maximize enzymatic activity and prevent damage to tissues. When the body gets too hot, sweating and vasodilation occur to cool it down. When the body gets too cold, shivering and vasoconstriction occur to warm it up. 2. Fluid and electrolyte balance. The body must maintain a proper balance of fluids and electrolytes, such as sodium, potassium, and chloride, in order to support optimal cellular function. The kidneys, hormones such as aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone, and other mechanisms work to regulate fluid and electrolyte balance. 3. Glucose levels. The body must maintain an appropriate level of glucose, sugar, in the blood in order to supply energy to cells. The pancreas secretes insulin and glucagon to regulate glucose levels in the blood. Other factors that the human body regulates include pH, oxygen and carbon dioxide levels, blood pressure, and hormone levels, among others. 5. Explain how negative feedback mechanism works. In biology, negative feedback is a mechanism that helps maintain homeostasis, a balanced or stable internal environment, by regulating physiological processes. Here's how it works. 1. A stimulus disrupts the internal environment of an organism. For example, when body temperature rises above normal, this is detected by thermoreceptors in the skin and hypothalamus. 2. The stimulus is detected by the body's control center, which initiates a response to counteract or oppose the stimulus. In the case of body temperature, the hypothalamus sends signals to the sweat glands to produce sweat and to blood vessels to dilate, which cools the body down. 3. The response helps restore the internal environment to its normal level or set point. In the case of body temperature, as sweating and vasodilation occur, the body's temperature gradually falls back to normal. 4. When the internal environment returns to normal, the negative feedback mechanism is turned off, and the physiological process is regulated until another disruption occurs. The key feature of negative feedback is that it helps maintain a stable equilibrium or balance by counteracting changes in the internal environment. Negative feedback is crucial for maintaining homeostasis in complex biological systems and preventing the body from reaching extreme states that may endanger health or survival. 6. State the importance of thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is the process by which the body maintains its core internal temperature within a narrow, optimal range. The importance of thermoregulation can be seen in the following ways. 1. Optimal body function. Many biological processes, such as enzymatic reactions, function most efficiently within a narrow temperature range. If body temperature deviates too far from normal, these processes can be impaired, leading to poor performance or even organ damage. 2. Prevention of hypothermia and hyperthermia. Hypothermia occurs when body temperature drops below normal, while hyperthermia occurs when body temperature rises above normal. Both conditions can be life-threatening if left untreated. Thermoregulation helps prevent these conditions by keeping body temperature within the normal range. 3. Adaptation to the environment. Different environments, such as hot and cold climates, pose different thermoregulatory challenges to the body. Thermoregulation allows the body to adapt to these different environments and maintain a functional internal environment. 4. Maintenance of immune system. Temperature is also important in maintaining a healthy immune system. Many immune system cells work optimally at normal body temperatures, and temperature changes may affect their ability to work properly. Overall, proper thermoregulation is essential for maintaining optimal body function and preventing life-threatening conditions associated with hypothermia and hyperthermia. 7. State the advantages homoiotherms have over poikilotherms. Homoiotherms, or endothermic animals, are those that can maintain a relatively constant internal body temperature, while poikilotherms, or ectothermic animals, have body temperatures that vary with their environment. Here are some advantages that homoiotherms have over poikilotherms. 1. Thermal independence. Homoiotherms are less dependent on external temperature conditions to regulate their body temperature. They can maintain their internal temperature regardless of environmental fluctuations, making them more adaptable to changes in their environment. 2. Greater activity. Homoiotherms can be more active than poikilotherms at low temperatures because they are less affected by external temperature changes. This allows them to be more active in the early morning or during the cool season. 3. Metabolic activity. Homoeotherms have higher metabolic rates, which allow for greater sustained activity and greater physical exertion over longer periods of time, regardless of environmental temperature conditions. 4. Adaptability. Homoeotherms can adapt to different environments and can function effectively in both warm and cold conditions. They are most often found in colder climate regions due to their ability to generate and retain heat endogenously. 5. Efficient digestion. Homoeotherms have more efficient digestive systems than poikilotherms. Their consistent internal temperature allows for more efficient metabolism of food and the growth of the animal's tissues. Overall, the advantages of homoeothermy include greater thermal independence, adaptability to different environments, increased activity and energetics, and more effective digestion. 8. What is the role of hypothalamus in thermoregulation? The hypothalamus plays a crucial role in regulating body temperature and is often referred to as the thermostat of the body. It maintains the body's internal temperature within a narrow range, and it does so by receiving information from temperature sensors located throughout the body and integrating that information with other signals. The hypothalamus contains two distinct groups of neurons that are involved in thermoregulation: warm-sensitive neurons and cold-sensitive neurons. These neurons respond to changes in temperature and send signals to other parts of the body to initiate thermoregulatory responses. When the body's temperature rises, the warm-sensitive neurons in the hypothalamus are activated, and they initiate a series of cooling responses, such as sweating and dilation of blood vessels in the skin, to dissipate excess heat. When the body's temperature falls, the cold-sensitive neurons in the hypothalamus are activated, and they initiate a series of warming responses, such as shivering and constriction of blood vessels in the skin, to conserve heat and raise the body's temperature. The hypothalamus also regulates thermoregulatory responses through the autonomic nervous system and the release of hormones, such as vasopressin and thyrotrophin-releasing hormone. In summary, the hypothalamus plays a critical role in maintaining the body's internal temperature within a narrow range by integrating information from temperature sensors throughout the body and initiating appropriate thermoregulatory responses to maintain the body's temperature. 9. Describe the negative feedback mechanism that restores a phase of body temperature back to normal. Negative feedback is a regulatory mechanism in the body that counteracts a change in a controlled variable, such as body temperature, and restores it back to normal. Here's how negative feedback helps in restoring body temperature to its normal level. 1. Stimulus. A stimulus such as exposure to cold or heat causes the body temperature to deviate from its set point, normal temperature. 2. Receptors. Temperature receptors in the skin and internal organs detect the change in temperature and send signals to the hypothalamus in the brain. 3. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus regulates the body's temperature by initiating both cooling and heating responses. If the stimulus causes a rise in body temperature, the hypothalamus triggers cooling responses, and if it causes a drop in body temperature, the hypothalamus triggers warming responses. 4. Effectors. Cooling responses like sweating, dilation of blood vessels in the skin, and inhibition of heat-generating processes begin to remove excess heat from the body to restore its normal temperature. Conversely, warming responses like shivering, constriction of blood vessels in the skin, and activation of heat-generating processes begin to raise the body temperature to its normal level. 5. Negative feedback. As the body temperature returns to its normal range, the temperature receptors in the skin and internal organs send signals to the hypothalamus, indicating that the temperature has been restored to its set point. This results in the cessation of cooling and heating responses, and the body temperature remains stable. This negative feedback mechanism of restoring body temperature to its normal level is a vital process in the human body, as any prolonged deviation from the normal temperature range can lead to thermal damage to the body's tissues and organs.